I have never made a tutorial video before, but there is some demand for this. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get set up with the Pokémon Crystal Disassembly. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to github.com/pret/PokeCrystal. So github.com/pret/PokeCrystal, you'll end up with a page that looks a little bit like this. Now we want to scroll down to install.md. This is the step-by-step instructions for how to install the disassembly. Now I'm not personally a fan of using the Windows subsystem for Linux, so we're going to use Cygwin. Cygwin is a program that we can download, so we'll open that in a fresh tab by middle-clicking, and we're also going to need this thing called RGBDS. So we'll get those two things open, and then we can start looking at installing. Now on the Cygwin page, it's an incredibly old-looking website. We are looking for setup ×86 or 64. You can see that's downloaded very quickly, and now we can get to installing. So let's open it up and see what's inside. I'd recommend at this point going back to the PokeCrystal tab on GitHub as well. And you can see we need make, git and gcc core. So we click next on here, install from the internet. We are going to do it in Cygwin, but you can put it anywhere you like. Just click browse and then pick the folder you like. It's up to you whether you go for all users or just you. We click next, then we have a local package directory download. We don't want any proxy settings, and we get a list of mirrors. I always go for the top one, it seems to be the easiest. It'll take just a couple of moments to download everything, and then you'll be met with this incredibly intimidating page. What we need to do is we need to go onto full on the view tab there, and let's split the screen slightly again so we can see we need make. So what we will do is we will scroll all the way down to make. You can also type it in. You can see I've already got it, but if you don't, you would click on the latest version, 4.4.2 at the time of release, and then we need git. I've got the latest version, so once again you'd click this arrow and click the one you want. I will drop down to that just for demonstration purposes, and then gcc-core. That one is here, so once again we do that. I'm going to reinstall, and then you click next. That's then going to start installing everything you need for Cygwin. This is step 1 of 2 for getting Cygwin all done and dusted. This will only take a couple of moments. There aren't too many big files to download, and we just wait for that to finish up. Once that's installed, we have Cygwin done, and then we can move on to RGBDS. RGBDS is the thing that's actually going to be helping to build our disassembly. So it's very, very important you have it. And it's also very important that when you're on the GitHub page, you make sure that you check the latest version. So 0.7.0 is the currently recommended version of RGBDS. So while Cygwin's still installing in the background, we'll go over to RGBDS and we will give it a download. We're going to click on install, and we are on Windows. So we are doing Cygwin. Let us go to latest release. It's going to take us back to GitHub. We don't want version 0.8.0 because they say that might not work. Instead, what we will do is we'll go to releases on that button there, scroll all the way down, and eventually you will find 0.7.0 just here. So if we then click on the Assets tab there, we can go to Win64, we'll give that a download, and that is the next part of the process. We'll need to open that up and put it in the right place. But in the meantime, Cygwin has finished installing. So if we now open up a file explorer, we'll go to C, then Cygwin64, and this is where Cygwin lives. Now if you remember on the RGBDS page, it says to copy all of the files in the zip into user local bin. So what we will do is we will open up user local and bin, and you can see I've already got RGBDS in here, but if you don't, you would then open up the RGBDS file. You take all of the contents of the RGBDS file, and then we are going to drag and drop them into our user local bin folder. Replace, for me, that's what I've got to do because I did already have them installed there. You won't need to do that, but that is RGBDS all installed. And then to make sure it is installed, you can open up Cygwin. That's going to be in your start menu. Open it up, and then you should see a little thing looking just like this. This is Cygwin. This is a program we're going to be using to actually build everything. It's not the program we're going to be using to edit anything, but this is one of the most important things that we will be having. And on the RGBDS page, it does say to check your version, you can type in RGB ASM, then a dash, and then capital V without the space. And it will then reply, if it's installed correctly, RGB ASM version 0.7.0. That's perfect. That's the one that the disassembly page said it wanted on install.md. If we scroll all the way back down against the Cygwin, we can see it says we want version 0.7.0. Now, we've got Cygwin, we have our RGB ASM. All that's left to do now is get ourselves a copy of Pokémon Crystal. So we'll click on the build here, and the first thing we need to do is type in git clone https:// github.com/pret/PokeCrystal. Now you can copy that, but if you do Control and V in Cygwin, it's not going to work. Instead, you hold down Shift and press Insert. Then hit Enter, and it will start cloning PokeCrystal. This is one of the big things. If it does this, you know that you are good to go, because you've at least been able to get the Pokémon Crystal Disassembly onto your PC. There are 4,621 files. Once it's done, it will look like this. Now we're going to type in CD, that stands for Change Directory, and we will type in PokeCrystal because it's downloaded into PokeCrystal because that's what the main folder was called. If we hit that, you can see in yellow we have the squiggly line /PokeCrystal. That means we're working in the PokeCrystal folder now, and the last thing we need to do is type make. Now depending on how powerful your PC is, you can speed this up a little bit by doing dash and then J and then the number of cores you've got. So I'm going to do -J12, and that's going to make it roughly 6 or 7 times quicker. It's not going to be 12 times quicker. And you will now see it's starting to scroll through a bunch of different things it needs to make, because all it's got at the moment is the raw ingredients. I like to think of it as it's cooking something from scratch. So we put in all the raw ingredients, and it's going to take a little while for it to build. So I'm going to leave this going on. I'll speed it up, and we'll meet back when it is done. Goodness me, that took a very long time, didn't it? It is now done, though, and you can see it has successfully made, because we have pokecrystal.gbc at the bottom here. Now, if we go back into our folder, and we go out of user local bin, we're going to go into Cygwin again, and this time we're going to go into home, Squidgy, for my case, and then PokeCrystal. And you'll see we have PokeCrystal all in here, and we also have this pokecrystal.gbc. Now, this is a clean vanilla version of PokeCrystal at the moment, but from this we can then start building other things into it. So that's the end of this particular tutorial. It's short and sweet. I hope that's helped you get yourselves started with the disassembly. If it has, please do make sure to leave a like and say something down below. Let me know it's worked. If not, I will re-record and hopefully come up with something a little bit better.